walk slides and I want everyone to. No, it's okay. Are you guys? Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Andrea Romero. I am the CEO and founder of Tall Foods. My partner and co-founder is Dr. Adam Wachter. He's also here to answer any questions you might have. Team members that we do have in the audience as well as Craig DeForest. We joined up with him first at Startup Weekend when we won Best Social Entrepreneurial Idea back in October. And he came with us from that mentorship all the way to present day, going through our fellowship. And Audrey Lopez couldn't be with us today. She's also my mother, but she sends her regards. We have I'm missing a bullet point. Don't worry about technical difficulties here. The problem we have right now is basically that we have a lot of people that love to eat red meat. Who in this audience eats meat? Okay, great. And right now we're not really meeting the demand of basically seeing how we're going to do that in a very responsible way. What we're seeing right now is that supply is not meeting the demand, and over basically the next 20 years, we are going to be in crisis. And what we see even visually is divestment and a lot of the ability to raise our stock. So Tall Foods is basically seeing all of these things and seeing the problems in the environment. And the other problem we have right now is that anytime you do want to eat well, it's really expensive to eat local, to be able to eat the right kind of things, and know where it's coming from and what you're putting in your mouth. We have crafted the solution in ostrich. So Tall Foods looks to basically introduce ostrich meats, which are basically what we're saying underwhelmingly just like beef, the best sort of beef burgers and steaks that you can have on the market, the same sort of taste, kind of similar to buffalo in the sense of that alternative, but what we're seeing is a huge impact difference with that shift to ostrich meats. So when compared to beef, something that we are somewhat familiar with, in New Mexico, one cow needs about 10 to 80 acres to range freely. An ostrich, being that it's a bird, it likes to flock, we can do 12 to 20 birds in a single acre. On the weight side, basically beef needs 200 gallons of water, and this is a very conservative estimate, to produce 1 pound of meat, when in comparison to ostrich, which basically only needs about 3 gallons to each pound of meat. On the same side of the amount of food required to produce that pound of meat, beef needs 15 pounds of feed to produce 1 pound of meat, while ostrich needs about 3.5 pounds. And then on the waste side, a dairy cow can produce 80 pounds of waste a day that needs to basically be removed. It's a huge GHG, greenhouse gas emission problem. And so we basically use the concept of the bird poop on the windshield. You know, you can scrape it off, it's dust in a couple days. It's the same thing as an ostrich. After a couple days, it's gone. And if you've ever visited an ostrich farm, there's no smell and no noisy, squawky birds. They're basically just really kind of mellow and don't make a lot of mess. But at the end of the day, the product that sits on your plate when you get it to the table is significantly less fat and significantly less calories, but basically the same amount of protein, iron, and then similar cholesterol, but we're getting a very high grade product at the end of the day that people would be interested in purchasing. And again, culturally the same as beef. Our consumer base we see is 3 different kind of groups coming together. First, starting with kind of the health and wellness conscious folks, the kind of gym rats who like to eat high protein, they really want to know what they're eating, that are really concerned with their diet, and they want to know that it's low in calories, low in fat. So they're checking labels, they're reading, they want to know what kind of content they're looking for. We also have what we're calling localist whole foodies, the one that are checking labels for where it was raised, how it was raised, was it ethical, is it local, what's the vicinity, what's our carbon footprint on each of the items that we're putting down putting in our mouth, but they're conscious shoppers and they're localists, and you tend to see them at places like Whole Foods, the Co-op, etc., or perhaps just the farmer's market. And then we want to be able to feed regular meat eaters who just want a great product that just know that I want a big hunk of meat and I want it to be tasty and I want it to be consistent. But what we have is a product that can also serve a wide variety of industries, such as the fashion industry. Ostrich feathers, to begin with, and they were, the ostriches were farmed for their feathers initially. So high fashion, you see all of the showgirls in Vegas. We have a market for our pillows, etc. So we know that people are still buying these. We also have ability to do artwork with the eggs. Eggs are also a byproduct, really fluffy, delicious eggs. And then of course some of the highest priced leather on the market with the ostrich leather product. So our business plan is really twofold. I don't know if you've seen a lot of ostrich hanging around New Mexico, but what we need to do primarily is first grow our stock. So we really need to actually have we're having our own farm out in Santa Fe County, just off of I-25 and Highway 14, is where our first generation of birds will be grown here in New Mexico. We're actually purchasing them from Tucumcari, so we're trying to keep it all within the state. But not a lot of people have had ostrich. Anyone here that's had it before? Okay, great. So this is probably a bigger percentage than most groups of people. But those that have had it, have had different experiences. But what we want to do is make sure that the quality of our product is maintained and that we're introducing it the way we actually want to come across and the type of food, the high quality type of food. So we need to do a fair amount in the process of raising, processing, and packaging this food. So a lot of that is relationship building, introducing it to farmers, co-ops, butcheries, groceries. Restaurants we piqued their interest, but we want to be able to allow them to play with the product to see what it is that we have at the end of the day. So in our first year, and really our second year, we're doing a lot of product testing and building with our brand manager back there who invented the Sofstrich. We're going to be rolling those out in green chili sausages. So year 3 and beyond doesn't really change so much, but we hope to have a wide variety of products that are in the marketplace, that are direct to consumer, and again, all under the Tall Foods label, so having that brand relationship with everyone that we interact with. And again, continuing to grow our reputation and our response to the need and the demand.
5 minutes.
So here are basically our projections as to how we're going to do all of this. So we have 2 graphs up here. The first one is basically raising our stock. And in the first 2 years, we're actually waiting on the fact that these animals require some time to grow to their full point, which is only 10 months. But it's 10 months enough for us to do a lot of that brand building and relationship building and figure out our processing and harvesting side of what we're going to be doing. So the first 2 years, since they're going to be raised from babies upward, it takes 2 years for them to mature, but we can buy a wide range of birds in that process. So the magic number that we're working with right now is 300 over the course of the first 5 years. And that is how we know we can actually pace our business and grow it to the point that we actually want to. So in the first year, when we're looking at our actual revenue streams, you can see that everything below in the gray is the capital that we need to inject. But once we start harvesting the animals, we're covering all of our bases in the first couple years. And then by our 3rd year is when we really inject a lot of capital. We've tested our product. We know what it is that we're working with. We know our product lines and distribution channels. And by then, by our 4th year, we're really in the business of Tall Foods. So what we're doing today is really looking for support in a wide variety of areas. And what we're doing is reinventing really the industry of ostrich, and it's got a very colorful history as to why this never really came to fruition in the past. So starting with being able to raise our flock, and we need a lot of research to be able to optimize the bird itself and what's the right amount of feed at what times, and how it is that we can optimize our growth yield with the birds. We also need to be able to do cooperative planning and research with our empowering farmers and gaining partners so we can continue to grow our stock outside of just our farm here in Santa Fe County, but elsewhere as well. A lot of, on the product development side, as I said, we have sausages to develop. We have optimization questions in the sense of what's the right kind of steak, how long does it sit on the shelf, how can we freeze it properly, what's the salting mechanism, etc. So, that product development is very experimental in the first year. The same channels of distribution, if you have qualities of understanding New Mexico's supply chain in distributing food, if you have relationships with groceries, etc., that's the kind of information that we could really use at this point in time. And again, price point right now is all over the map, so we are really going to be doing a lot of intimate research with our consumer base to say, what would you pay for this, at what time and when, and is this the quality that is meeting the demand, etc. So we already know that this is a proven success story, both in the United States and outside. So a farmer that we've worked with is in Central California, Joel. He's been in the business for 28 years now. He's basically built the model that we want to emulate, but we want to improve upon it. He basically has built cooperative little ostrich farms all around Central California and puts them under his Blue Feather brand that is stuck in the 80s, unfortunately. But basically he gets it, but he has no interest in growing his business. This is his retirement job. It doesn't go beyond that. And of course, South African ostrich basically built this industry. They are 70% of the industry right here in the Western Cape, still to this day. But it's as ubiquitous as beef in the marketplace, and that's where I got to initially try the product and was blown away how amazing it was, and nobody knew about the environmental effects that it was having. The present market is incredibly poor. We also want to improve this. This is some gross rubbery burger that we had in Arizona just a couple weeks ago, and this was their marketing for that burger. So we're not really up against a whole lot of competition. And just in Albuquerque, a week and a half ago, we went to Keller's Grocery, a very famous grocery in Albuquerque, $23.98 a pound for a tiny brick of freezer burnt meat that nobody wants to buy because it's so expensive. But if we're saying it's less resources and less land, and less water, and less food to be able to produce the same amount of meat, it should be able to be price parity with beef. We are a triple bottom line business, and of course we are pandering to New Mexicans, and this is a New Mexico homegrown business. So we see direct local economic impact. We've seen research studies showing that from incubation to the plate, we create 1 job for every 10 birds that we produce. And again, all of that basically creates opportunities for divestment in cattle to actually have an opportunity in ostrich now, since water is so scarce. So we want to be able to cultivate that relationship with everyone that's interested in that regeneration of smart farming, not just small farming, but smart farming. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for your time.
Nick, one thing I forgot to mention, introduce yourself by name and organization and any particular title or function that's relevant to the discussion.
So questions, comments, feedback?
Well, I have lots of questions.
Okay, great.
I'm Elizabeth Rice. Oh no, I'm just Elizabeth Rice.